When an emotion is arising, or it may be a bodily sensation, and you are observing it, right? You're practicing letting go, acceptance, which are the same in essence, and they are grounded, established in observing. You're observing the emotion, the bodily sensation. Oftentimes what will happen is that there's sort of a reaction to what you're observing. Perhaps there is a fear of the sadness or the loneliness that is perceived. There's a resistance against the bodily sensation, right? The pain. So a question I get asked very often is, Sunny, when I observe and I'm trying to let it be, some sort of layer of resistance or fear or bodily reaction comes as a reaction, as a response to what I'm observing. So how to get past this? And so the answer quite literally lies in the practice itself. As I said earlier, the practice of letting go, of acceptance, is grounded in observing. So you must learn to observe not only just the sensation or emotion that is present, but also the reaction to what is being observed, which is also, the reaction is also just another emotion, a thought, or a sensation. Please see this. As simple as this is, this will completely open you up. Because you see, what happens is that when you're observing and the reaction comes, and sometimes it's so powerful, there's an instant identification with it. Automatically, something claims to be that reaction looking at what is being observed. There's a sense that I am this reaction. You sort of wear that suit on and you take it on to be what I am. And what I'm asking you to do just through the simple act of observing is to bring even that reaction under the scope of your observing as well, and let that be as well. Just observe. Do not observe to interpret, judge, analyze, to get rid of. You see, all these are just mental positions which keep you in the mental stuff, which keep you in resistance. What you're practicing is learning to observe and let be. And therefore, naturally, you'll be free of it. What you bring under the scope of your observation, you are no longer bound to. Naturally, that the unconscious link that you have that pulls you into identification, that pulls you into the suffering of it, is broken by the simple act of observing. But no amount of hearing this will help you. You must practice, especially when it's the most difficult. When it's the most difficult, that's when you don't want to practice. You're like, I don't want to hear it. But those are your most powerful opportunities to transcend. Your most powerful opportunities to open up to a totally new understanding. That same fear that has been haunting you for years, that anxiety that has been haunting you for years, those bodily reactions and sensations and that loneliness and that sadness that has been haunting you for years will sort of become observable, and the link will be broken. There's going to be a capacity within you through practice that somehow allows this reaction to be here as it is, but no longer further react to it, no longer suffer it. And this ultimately is the capacity you're building with the letting go practice, with the acceptance practice. What is it? The ability to not be in conflict with the contents of this moment. What is in conflict with the contents of this moment is just another mental position, which you usually identify as. You resist the bodily sensation, you resist the emotion, the fear, or whatever it may be. This resistance itself is what I'm asking you to also recognize that it is observed by you. I'm not coming from outside of your experience and telling you that this is what you're observing. No, you report this to me. You say, this, like this reaction is coming up and there's resistance and I just can't take it anymore. I'm asking you to bring that one that claims that I can't take it anymore also under your observation. See yourself as prior to it because you are observing it. You are observing it arise and subside. You are there when it's not there. You see it come and then you're still there, and then you see it go and you're still there. Thereby, just by direct insight, by observing, you are not that. But you limit yourself to that because when it arises, you take your shape as that. You identify yourself as that reaction. And what you're being asked to do here, just by, observing, not reacting prematurely, not claiming prematurely that I am that reaction. You're just being asked to observe even the reaction itself. Perhaps another reaction arises to your observing the very first reaction. Recognize, again, even this, even though it may be subtler, it is still observed. It is still seen by me to arise and subside, to come and go. And so you're building this capacity to observe. And you see, you no longer will be terrorized by the contents of awareness. Right now, you're just trying to cling on to half the contents of your awareness and trying to get rid of the other half because they terrorize you. This is wisdom. This is the ability to live in total acceptance of what is, not being in conflict with even the unpleasant by the simple act of observing. This practice will take you so deep. It has an infinite depth of understanding, of wisdom, of knowledge. It will yield to you a greater understanding than any amount of thinking or reading or watching ever can. That's why I say no amount of hearing this will ever help you. This is a first step. You must now put it into practice. You must now, even when it's the most difficult, especially when it's the most difficult, practice this. Just see and observe and let be. Don't get so hung up on, but how am I going to solve this, this, and this? Trust me, there's nothing to solve. Let the mind solve, okay? The mind is concerned with solving. You are not the mind. Observe even the mind trying to solve and let it be. Don't be in conflict. By this, you are recognizing your true position. And you will see this ultimately. The mind may not think it's practical, but this is ultimately a much easier and effortless way to go about your life. Because when you are not in conflict with anything, nothing will be in conflict with you. Right now, because you take all these mental positions and you're constantly in conflict with everything that arises, always trying to avoid it or manipulate it or judge it or interpret it, your experience has more friction naturally. The conflict that you create by being in opposition to something is what you then are reflected. The experience reflects that back to you as friction, which you further fight back with resistance. So this is the madness of mind, right? This is the same madness you're trying to solve by the mind through thinking. So you can continue doing that, or you can start to reflect and see that this hasn't been working. And so be open to try a new approach that may not make practical sense to you right now, but there's something that trusts it. There's something that resonates with it. So you're able to rest the mind's concerns and doubts and fears of the future away for now. Observe even those. Let them be. You don't have to constantly entertain and react to what is happening in the mind. You just have the capacity to let it be, not give it your attention, your interest. Don't entertain it. Give it your constant engagement. This is what keeps you bounded. So just through the simple observing. Observe the reaction, the emotion, the sensation, then even the reaction, which is subtler, that is happening to what you're observing, observe that too. Recognize yourself as the ultimate observer, the watcher, the knower, the seer, to which there is no content, to which there is no personal identity or quality. It's like open space. You can't touch space, yet you are never not touching space. Space is not in conflict with anything that is contained within the space. Nothing that is in the space is affecting the space, damaging the space, taking anything away from the space. So be like that, because you essentially are that. So you practicing this, right? This is just a sort of a tool to come into alignment with your essential nature as that sort of space-like quality. Your essential nature, the knowing, the awareness in which all the contents appear and disappear. Okay, so this is an infinitely powerful practice. The first half of, what we cover here, we cover acceptance and we cover inquiry. And these two really open you up away. They take you away from limitation and contraction to this openness, to this spontaneity, to self-knowledge. All right, so if you want to gain greater insight into this, you can even watch my acceptance playlist down below or my self-inquiry playlist. You can also take advantage of the free resources that we have here, the free monthly webinar that I do, along with the free 1-hour class on self-inquiry that I'm offering right now. And lastly, if you want to work with me personally and get help by me through this process, then consider enrolling in my Higher Consciousness Shift program. Right now, my main intention is to bring this process to as many people as I possibly can this year. And so for that reason, I've significantly reduced the price of my program, enabling more people to enroll. And I'm so excited to share this process with you, just like I do on these videos. So please take advantage of the many resources available to you underneath and make this your way of life, right? This isn't something you just do for just a result here and there and, for temporary periods of time. This is truly, you're learning to ponder the greater questions of life. You're seeking to understand yourself and life rather than just be caught up in the details of life. You're truly considering the greater things. You're trying to understand yourself, find yourself. Okay? So I hope this video benefited you. I'll see you next time.